This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerated. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Had the best words. God bless the United States.
I like my meat tight. Tighten up my meat.
Wet ass P-word.
It's like a shark, NATO, except with poop.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Around the nation, right here, Waldorf Nation. Jeff Waldorf, we got a good show for you guys today. So, welcome. I can never get the positioning right on this. So, hopefully it sounds good. Picks up well. It's like a really expensive lap set, so I'm really hoping that it works. All right, anyway. Where was I? Where what? Oh, right. We've got democracy that's kind of falling apart, even though Donald Trump is no longer going to be president. We also have, a crappy stimulus deal. We've got more stuff to talk about with that. And so I need to make a little bit of correction on that yesterday. So somebody had mentioned that we had $500 million for Israel. That is not directly included in the stimulus proposal itself, but was included in the omnibus bill. So I want to just make a little correction. I'm going to mention that later on when I talk about that story, because it's really pathetic, all the crap that was put into the omnibus spending bill, the same spending bill, of course, that involved the coronavirus legislation, the so-called rescue stimulus package, whatever. It's not very good. Very bad. Sad. Baby. All right, so there's that. We are going to, of course, talk about the more drama inside of the White House. We have more tea being spilled by Stephanie Winston Wolkoff, the not so good person, because you don't have to be you really don't have to be a good person to be a friend of Melania Trump. Okay, so there are bad people, the worst people that surround that entire family. All right. And then, of course, we've got Pat Robertson. Yeah, Uncle Pat. Good old Uncle Pat. Those of you, I know there's some of you that may have remembered. There used to be a show on the network, on the TYT network, Canadian, right? I feel like he was at a bad time, right? But he had a show, and he used to do these segments called, Uncle Pat, where he'd talk about, he'd bring on some Pat Robertson clips and make fun of him. It was fun times. It was fun times. I miss that guy. He's now doing other stuff that's, I think, outside of YouTube. But nonetheless, Uncle Pat, it stuck with me. It really did. And so, I just want to give a shout out because he's a good friend. So anyway, we're going to talk about Uncle Pat. Fun times. We've got Rudy Giuliani in a little bit of trouble, possibly. Fun times. And then, like I said before, the stimulus, quote unquote. Fun times. Yeah. All right. So, is anybody else playing Cyberpunk 2020? Cyberpunk 2020 or 2077? That's you know, that's an interesting question because yes, I am playing it. Both versions. 2020 when I go outside and have to wear a mask, you know, because of the pandemic that is ravaging this country, because, you know, Republicans felt like they needed to go and eat at an Applebee's. Yes, my life is Cyberpunk 2020, except without the cyber part. I feel like life would be a little bit better if we had a little bit more cyber in it, and, you know, all that stuff. But yeah, I made a fun tweet about that to go and, you know, to go back to my plugging my Twitter account. Hey, you can follow me at Just Politics. We you know, I tweeted something about like what was it? Oh, this weekend, you know, I went out and experienced a dystopian world in which corporations run everything and the lives of human beings are worth nothing compared to profits. And then I also played Cyberpunk 2077. It's fun. I you know, I enjoy that game. I'm having some fun with it. My computer wouldn't be able to run it. That sucks. That sucks. I feel like we're more like in Fallout 76. Yeah, but except without the 50s retro aesthetic. I feel like we're not quite into that. And then it's more of like a satirical type of future. You know what I mean? But I see what you mean. All right. Anyway, enough about that. We should actually get to some news at some point in this show. Before we get into it, please like and share the stream. Very helpful if you do so. I really do actually appreciate when people, you know, like and share the stream, not just the stream, but the videos as well, or like us on Twitch, or I should say follow us on Twitch. By the way, I will be considering doing a raid on Twitch after we're done with the stream. I'm just not sure who to raid at this point, because I'm not sure. I don't really have a whole lot of friends on Twitch yet. To which raid. And so, you know, I'm kind of working on that, getting more friends. I'm fairly friendless on Twitch as of yet. Got to reach out to some of the Twitch people. We'll see what happens. All right, anyway, let's move on. Let's start out with a fairly important story here, and that is Trump denying reality as usual. All right. President Donald Trump has turned on his staff and allies as he continues to deny reality. Now, the president has been meeting with conspiracy theorists, fringe characters. For example, you know, Sidney Powell released a Kraken, and you know, she's meeting with them in the. I'm sorry, he's meeting with them inside the Oval Office. So they're bringing these crackpot conspiracy theorists literally into the White House in order to talk about ways to override the will of the voters, to throw out the election because they were not favorable to Donald Trump. Right, so and as well as their power, as well as their prominence, et cetera, the grift that keeps on grifting, all that stuff, right? And Donald Trump himself is, I feel like, in a weird way, he is being taken advantage of by the grifters as well. That said, he's more than happy to take advantage of everyone else. He's got authoritarian tendencies. He's a spoiled baby, all that stuff, right? And so. Some of the strategy, right, that was discussed was Donald Trump using the Insurrection Act. And by the way, General Michael Flynn was also there. He was the one that floated doing martial law. Okay, General Flynn, disgraced General Flynn, I should say. He is somebody who's a criminal. He was a criminal who was pardoned by Donald Trump. So you've got criminals in the White House. Do you remember? I seem to remember there was a freak out by Republicans when Obama invited Common, as a rapper, Common, to go into the White House. Oh my God! How dare you disgrace the White House with this rapper, with this Common? Oh my God! How dare you bring this guy in here? All while Donald Trump is disgracing the White House with a literal criminal who is now talking about doing the Insurrection Act, suspending the Constitution, ending habeas corpus in order to overturn the election for Trump. I'm just saying. Like, oh yeah, and of course Kanye. Kanye. I feel like Kanye is one of those things where it's like the guy needs mental health care, and the thing is, of course, he can afford mental health care, but he just chooses not to get it. That's kind of what I feel about Kanye. Like, he says crazy stuff, and then the only thing that I think they really have in common is the fact that they both are masters of hype. You know, so it's one of those things. But anyway, you had that criminal inside the White House, and then you had the crazy person. Speaking of crazy people, Sidney Powell. So now, one of the ideas that was floated, and I talked about this in another show, is, you know, Sidney Powell being appointed as special counsel to go and you know, root out voter fraud. Now, that in itself has drawn fierce pushback from congressional Republicans, as staffers, and even, of course, Rudy Giuliani. Now, Giuliani, it's pretty funny because I talked about this yesterday, because there's a couple of, you know, different outcomes of being able to push that investigation into voter fraud. For one, you're not going to find anything. And so you don't find anything, you get embarrassed, you know, and all that stuff, because, again, there's absolutely no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Okay, so they're going to have to come out and admit, just like the Department of Justice, oh, right, we looked for voter fraud, we couldn't find any, so now what's going to happen? Okay. Well, and besides, even if there was an investigation, you think that would basically end at any time soon, before January 20th? They have less than a month. Okay, less than a month. You're not going to get an investigation done in that time. It's going to overturn any sort of, you know, overturn the election. Okay, it's not going to happen. The other thing, what it would do is that, you know, if you do this investigation, she's going to make things up. And that's going to, again, further embarrass everyone else, going to show it for the grift that it is. And for people like Rudy Giuliani, the grift is kind of the point. Like, hey, please send us money. The deep state is preventing us from actually doing this. The media is not covering this massive investigation into widespread voter fraud, how they're trying to steal the election from you, the deep state, the Democrats, George Soros, and the ghost of Hugo Chavez. So there's that. There's two different ways that this is going to go. And so Rudy Giuliani is against that. Now, another person that's against it is White House counsel Pat Scipione, right? Now, as a result, and you're not going to be shocked by this, according to Axios co-founder Mike Allen, who reported that Trump has now grown paranoid. Of course, because I keep telling you this is exactly what's going to happen, okay? But he has grown paranoid about his own vice president and Republican leader Mitch McConnell. It's almost as if everything that's happened was forecast by people who have studied Donald Trump, not only over the last 4 years, but even, you know, even before he became president. A lot of us were like, this is probably something that's going to happen. What's going to happen if Donald Trump loses the election? What is he going to do? Well, it turns out he's going to do this. He's going to do this. He's going to deny that he lost and try to hold him to power. And that's exactly what's going on. And anybody who is not loyal, by the way, is going to get the shaft. Again, we knew. So now, Pat Scipione, right, is one of the people, and as well as Mitch McConnell, that has pushed back against impounding voting machines. Now, Rudy Giuliani was in favor of this. He actually asked the Department of Justice. Department of Justice says, no, we can't do that. It's not under our purview. We can't do that. Okay. So now the president looks at anybody who pushed back against that as weak. So you're weak and you're insufficiently loyal if you are not going out and impounding voting machines to try to overturn the will of the voters. And again, William Barr, as I pointed out, the Justice Department, William Barr, who was now resigning. He is leaving, and now he is a traitor to the right wing because somehow he must have been compromised by the deep state for doing an investigation that found no evidence of voter fraud and having to come out and say that we didn't find anything. We didn't find any voter fraud. William Barr, he must have been paid off by, the ghost of Hugo Chavez, and all that. So, I mean, it's the only explanation. The only explanation, because obviously massive voter fraud, right? Because Donald Trump says it. Although, to be fair, we did find voter fraud. You're going to love this, right? A Pennsylvania man has actually been charged with illegally casting a ballot for president, for President Trump, not Biden, but Trump, in the name of his deceased mother. So this is from The Hill. District Attorney Jack Stolzheimer told reporters at a news conference that a man named Bartman, that's his last name, I forget his first, Bartman, Simpsons throwback, oh, I love it, admitted that he was able to register his dead mother to vote online and request an absentee ballot in her name, which he then filled out and submitted. So this is somebody who did voter fraud through absentee ballots. Oh, now wait a minute. Now, wait. Okay. So he did the voter fraud, right? But wait, I thought that this was, I thought that voting through absentee ballots and by mail is so completely insecure that millions of ballots of these ballots can get through undetected. But yet, when it happened to somebody who voted for Donald Trump, that's when they found it. Again, I can't see any other response to this by Trump supporters, other than of course denial, which I guess is another response. But then to say, well, look at that, see, they know how to catch voter fraud. They just choose not to spin it into another conspiracy. Because of course, right? Bartman, who was able to secure an absentee ballot in the name of his mother, who was also deceased, but did not cast a ballot in her name. So he almost did an absentee ballot as well. So, oh, I'm sorry, mother-in-law. Not just his mother, but his mother-in-law. Ah, okay. Local investigators, they caught him because of rumors circulating about a ballot being illegally cast on social media. So like that turned into a complaint, which was filed to the Delaware County Board of Elections, according to the Inquirer, and a task force was able to find evidence of a possible crime. Weird. Hey guys, it looks like the system works. Weird. So they could take a rumor on social media, look into it, and find actual voter fraud. I would say the system works and is pretty secure if we can catch something like this. It seems rather weird because there was the allegations of widespread voter fraud by Democrats, but seems like the only time that we can find voter fraud is really when it's perpetrated by Trump voters. That's super weird. Real weird. Oh, okay. But back to Pence. I kind of get off track, off track just a little bit. But Alan's article also noted that the Lincoln Project has been getting inside of President Trump's head. Now, they ran an ad saying that Vice President Mike Pence was turning on Donald Trump, and as a result, he is starting to doubt Mike Pence. And no segment on Mike Pence is going to be complete without
Mike Pounds.
I'm sorry, I have to. It's a requirement at this point. I have to do it. One more time for levity.
Mike Pounds.
Okay, now we got it out of our system. All right, at least now I do. All right. So now, guys, you know I've talked about the Lincoln Project, guys. Okay. I think the only thing that they've ever been successful at doing is getting inside of Donald Trump's head and making him feel bad. Okay, and I guess it's sort of the point of like half the point of the Lincoln Project, to get into Donald Trump's head, to make him feel various feelings, and then not good feelings, very bad feelings. And the other thing that they said that they were trying to do is to get votes for Democrats. They didn't deliver. Okay, actually, more Republicans voted for Donald Trump than before. All right. But like, in addition to getting lip money, at least they've been going and making Donald Trump feel bad, and making him more paranoid, which I gotta admit I do kind of enjoy. I am human, and I do enjoy to see Donald Trump suffer just a little bit. Okay, that's just, I admit it. I'm not above it. I'm not a good person. I'm a normal human being, and yes, I enjoy watching terrible people go a little crazy from ads. I'm sorry, but not sorry. Okay, but anyway, there's more. So now, Trump has had a problem with Mike Pence for some time. Okay, for one, according to Axios, Trump views Pence as not fighting hard enough for him. And Pence's role on January 6th, by the way, has begun to loom large in Trump's mind, according to people who've discussed the matter with him. What happens on January 6th? Mike Pence has to come out and basically admit that the election was legitimate, to certify the results. Okay, he's going to come out and he's going to say, yes, everything was above board. Donald Trump has lost, I have lost, and Joe Biden will be the 46th president of the United States. And that's it. Is there anyone that Trump does not have a problem with? Himself? Ivanka? That's the list is real short. Very, very short. Trump would view Pence performing his constitutional duty in validating the election results, not sort of validating, as the ultimate betrayal. So, stay tuned for that mess, because that's going to be a lot of fun. All right. But it's not just Mike Pence. There's more. Axios also reported on Monday that Trump was trying to set fellow Republicans against Mitch McConnell. How's that going to go? Oh, it's going to go very, very poorly. Donald Trump does not have a lot of heft within the Republican hierarchy. And the reason I say hierarchy and not party is because in the Republican Party, among the voters, Donald Trump is super popular. The voters just absolutely love this guy. But the establishment Republicans don't. They really don't like him. They'd line up behind McConnell, because McConnell actually does deliver for Republican congressmen. He has delivered many victories legislatively. And so they look at it that way, whereas Donald Trump tends to deliver, I think, more rhetorical victories. For owning the libs. And that's generally what it seems to be about. All right. So there's that. But it's funny because Trump insists that McConnell is indebted to him because of the Kentucky election, where you had a super weak Democrat. I can't even remember what Amy McGrath. That's what it is. Allison Lonergan Grimes 2.0 got fucking destroyed. And I know that there's some questions about the legitimacy of that election that some of you have, asked me to look into. Sure. And, I can definitely look into that. But right now, it seems like the election was, again, above board. And Kentucky just has it just has a history of voting. And I think this is true for a lot of elections where incumbent Republicans especially win, but also incumbent Democrats as well, where, yes, they may have a low opinion of their congressman, but they still end up voting for them anyway because it's a habit. I think it's mainly that. So that said, he had his personal assistant. This is what the article says. He had his personal assistant last night send around to Republican lawmakers a PowerPoint slide arguing that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell was, in quote, first off the ship, and Trump taking credit for McConnell's win in Kentucky. Fun. Of course, the president had nothing to do with that. If anything, the president created headwinds because McConnell won and Trump didn't. He doesn't even understand, electoral politics. He doesn't understand a damn thing. He is a loser. He's a baby, sad. He's even been asking advisors whether they can get state legislatures to rescind their electoral votes. Again, that's not going to happen. Not going to happen. And when he's told no, well, he lashes out even more. Said a source who discussed the matter with the president. Monday night, Trump spoke with House Republicans about voting to overturn the result on January 6th, a desperate vote that even Trump has privately acknowledged that he is bound to lose. Again, probably because of the deep state and the ghost of Hugo Chavez. Damn you, Hugo Chavez. Damn you. Rising from the grave to foil Trump once again. I suppose that is why we have allocated $33 million to try to overthrow Venezuela in the stimulus bill. But again, I've got to admit that it is fun to see Trump unravel because he is such an odious person. But you got to remember this, and I think this is the ultimate lesson here. Okay, is that part of the establishment strategy, and this goes along with, of course, the Lincoln Project Republicans, all right, is to distance themselves from Trump now that they lost. The Lincoln Project wants to say this is not who Republicans are. But again, Trump has a 90% approval rating among Republican voters. This is who they are. And so we need to never let them forget that they had backed a con man. And the Republican Party, by the way, fell behind Donald Trump. 100%. Supported him, voted for a vast majority of his proposed legislation. And now that he's lost, they're, discarding him. Even the ones who are, of course, very loyal to him. And that's really telling, both about Donald Trump and establishment Republicans and the entire conservative movement, basically at this point in time. All right. Oh, hey, it looks like we got a live one in the chat. Oh, that's fun times. Okay. So this is fun, right? So F Biden, and this is fake. Well, I can agree with one thing. F Biden. Okay, if you are new to this show, and I'm assuming that you are, do I like Biden? No, I don't. I really don't. Do I think that? But is this fake? No. See, the establishment sucks. Biden sucks. Trump also sucks. Welcome to the show. I'm just saying. It's not fake news just because you don't like it. TYT, hey, thank you for the raid. That is awesome. Welcome to the show. No progressives like Biden. I'm a centrist, and I think Biden sucks. You know what? Okay, here's the thing, Kevin. Progressives are the real centrists. When you look at the Overton window worldwide, things like universal health care, Medicare for all, things like a higher minimum wage, all that is actual centrist stuff. It is centrist, and because again, every other country has universal health care. And so they've got systems where, like, and they look at our system as 100% barbaric. And so, because it is, again, you've got how many thousands of people, tens of thousands of people that die every single day because they don't have health care in this country? What is it, 45,000 people a day, lack of health care. And this was before the pandemic. And so to be against universal health care, to be against Medicare for all, you're actually incredibly right-wing. Now, that said, we can disagree on strategy. Okay, we can disagree on the strategy on how to get there, and that's a separate discussion. But if you're low-key actually against universal health care, you are not a centrist, you're conservative, you're a right-winger. So let's just be very, very clear about that. Okay, so again, progressives are the centrists. And so if you want to be a centrist, join with us, because we are presenting common sense solutions to real, actual problems. Biden didn't win fairly, 80 million. More people voted for Biden. And so, yeah. Oh, but I can't believe he got more votes than Obama. More people registered to vote. This was a referendum on Donald Trump. More people turned out. Yeah, actually, also more people turned out for Donald Trump, too, than they did before. You're not going to question, you're not ready to question those results, are you? And so it's funny because, like, oh, I can't believe more people turned out for Biden. More people turned out in this election overall. So, yeah. If you don't advocate for Assange's release as a political prisoner, you are a fraud. Well, look, I really enjoy the purity litmus testing here that's going on. Even though I am in favor of pardoning Assange, because what he is he's a journalist, and he's a whistleblower. But I don't enjoy people like gatekeeping the left over like one or two things. If I agree with you 95%, then you're my ally, and we can have a discussion on, that last 5%, and it could become a heated discussion. But I don't believe in canceling somebody over 5% difference. So that's it seems kind of ridiculous. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. All right. Anyway, let's move on. And again, there are some people who are like, screw you, Assange. We again, 95% difference. We can definitely disagree on that 5%, but I'm not going to cancel you. I'm not going to cancel you. I'm not going to come after you. I'm not going to do anything like that, because generally, for the most part, we're on the same side, for the most part. So there you go. All right. Anyway, let's move on. We've got more fun stuff. A former friend of First Lady Melania Trump continues to proudly spill the tea. In an interview with the Daily Beast, Stephanie Winston Wolkoff says says that she first began to see Melania Trump for who she was after she allowed her to take the blame for some election scandals. So now this is funny because there's real funny timing about this. Like, oh my God, I didn't realize Melania was such a terrible person until she did me dirty. No, really? Oh, well, that's really interesting. Tell me more about this. Okay, but anyway, so now in that scandal, by the way, Wolkoff personally pocketed about $1.6 million from the Trump inauguration. So, and that's at least, okay? And she was accused of actually pocketing a lot more, which, let's be honest, a lot of people pocketed a lot of money during this inauguration, okay? So understand, though, for the context here, we're not dealing with people that are good on either side here. There are no good people on both sides. They're all terrible, awful people. Okay, so there you go. but see, the importance here of talking about this is there is this perception among libs that Melania is a poor trophy wife. Oh, she didn't want to get into this politics thing. All she wanted to do was just sit there and collect the monies for when after Donald Trump dies. And she's going to take over the monies, and it's going to, she's going to live a good, happy life off what little fortune Donald Trump has left. And she's not like Trump. She's not ruthless. No. Not a terrible person. She's just, she's trapped in a bad marriage. Perhaps, stay with me here, perhaps she is both a terrible person and is trapped in a bad marriage. I know, both can be true. Both can be true. All right. But anyway, back to Winston Walkoff. Okay. She said, quote, I begged her to just come out and say that I was her friend. I was loyal. Now understand, to a Trump, loyalty is the most important thing to them, okay? And so the response was, nope, nothing. Of course, because if to a Trump, if you don't have use, if you're not a useful person, and if you're not 100% loyal, well then, again, they've got no use for you. You're garbage. You were discarded. And so she says, the pain of that, the betrayal, I gave up my whole life for this woman. I should have known better. She's just like her husband. Look, it takes a certain kind of person to be around the Trump family, okay? To be around Donald Trump, to have sex with Donald Trump. I know, get the brain bleach, please. Forget about taking the bleach for coronavirus. Just put it directly, apply it into your eyeballs, okay, for just a second, all right? We all heard the stories from Stormy Daniels. We all know exactly what they're dealing with down, in that situation, okay? We're not going to go there. Not going to go there. And I don't want to get into, speaking of, now I want to go to, I don't want to get into, anti-feminist tropes or anything like that, right? But like the gold digger, okay? Because I think that's a good allegory here. It's a good thing to use. Like she a gold digger. Melania, definitely a gold digger. All right. Except the problem is she's really bad at it. She ended up with the world's worst businessman. Terrible. And then, of course, she ends up getting dragged into politics, which I'm sure she wasn't happy about. But like any Trump, when you're cast into the swamp, she adapted very well to her conditions. Because she is, again, a swamp monster along with it. In fact, Walkoff then tells a story about how Melania had relished wearing her infamous "I really don't care" jacket to a visit with migrant children who had been separated from their parents. She says, reportedly, I'm driving liberals crazy, that's for sure. And they deserve it. We're talking about migrant children here, okay? Migrant children being separated from their families, okay? And so, look, did Obama did something similar? He didn't have a separation policy. Did separations happen under Obama? Yes. Did caging children happen under Obama? Yes, it did. To the extent of which Donald Trump had done it? No. And so I think that's fair to point out those differences, okay? Still bad when it comes to both. One is arguably worse. So that said, these kids whose parents brought them here for a chance at a better life, and I think we all deserve a chance at a better life, okay? We deserve a chance at the American dream, all right? Well, what did we do when they came here? Well, under Trump, we separated them from their parents, many of them of which have not been reunited, may never be reunited. And even in the situations where they might be reunited or have been reunited, there's been emotional trauma, as well as deportations. That emotional trauma is not being treated. And so again, you've got a lot of families that end up getting sent back to other countries to which they had fled, and there's a good chance they may not survive. So to go in and wearing that jacket to antagonize people, and then to enjoy the fallout and say, oh yeah, this triggered the libs, that's especially sick. All right, but 100% on brand for Trumpism. Again, Donald Trump, the Trump family considers emotion weakness. They think that caring about other human beings is pathetic, it's sad, and that the only thing that matters is perception of them by the public. Now, the adoration of their fans, which in this case involves a group of people that are very easy to please and easier to exploit. Now, understand, like, lefties, we demand certain things. We expect certain things from our leadership. Okay, lefties, for you to stand for certain things, to make certain stances of things. All right? And of course, those things are good things. Those things are good goals. Okay? The right is different because their ideology is reactionary. They want to own the libs. Okay? It is much easier to upset people on the left. And I've seen this, and you all have seen this. It's very easy to upset us lefties. I mean, conservatives are sort of right. We're pretty easy to trigger, right? It's easy to trigger the libs because, well, all you have to do is present us with massive injustice. And there's a lot of injustice in this world. You point that out, guess what? We're pissed off, we've got energy, we're ready to fight. Okay, and a lot of times, unfortunately, we end up fighting each other. And that sucks. And we should really try to avoid doing that with people that we agree with 95% of on the issues. All right, that said, right, we have higher standards for people than many on the right, many leaders on the right. So for grifters, it's much easier to target right-wing people. And that's not saying that grifters don't exist on the left, they absolutely do. And the common thread there is, of course, the exploitation of anger. The right is perpetually angry and fearful, so they're very easy to exploit. There's a section of the left that's also very angry and fearful as well, and I understand that. And understand, like, there's a common thread there as well, socioeconomic issues, okay? But the differences on that is that they deal with this differently. Right-wing grifters use anger and fear to attack minorities and people who are not in power. Very, very pro-fascist stuff, okay? On the left, that anger is directed towards centers of power, congressional, just Congress in general, elected officials, etc. Centers of power. And so that's different. And in that sense, the Trumps are the grifters, okay? Wolkoff, also a grifter, and you also can look at groups like the Lincoln Project, grifters. And so now the grifters, like the Lincoln Project, are grifting the left when it comes to anger and fear against the person that's currently in power, that's President Donald Trump. But the Trumps, of course, grift on their base. Rudy Giuliani, I showed you an ad where Rudy Giuliani is literally selling gold coins and cigars. Jim Baker's another great example, selling his apocalypse food buckets and all that different stuff. You go on the right, there's constant grifting. And of course, it has to do with the fears of the end of the world and the liberals coming to take your stuff, to come to take your guns. They're doing all this stuff, right? They're gonna take your religion. They're gonna destroy you and your family. They're gonna take your, kids and make them gay and trans and turn them against you and turn them against God and Jesus. All that stuff is what the right wing does. And so it's very easy to make things up in order to grift that audience. But it's personal for Wolkoff, going back to her, right? Because she was personally dumped by Melania. And yet, despite all that, that doesn't make anything that she's saying any less true. And so it is interesting to see her spill the tea on this and expose, of course, the Trumps for what we always knew them to be, but nonetheless is important for everyone to know. As if we're going to really change any minds by this, but still, at least it's out there. The information is there if you want it. All right. Being the right wing, I want to talk about Pat Robertson. That's always fun. It appears that Pat Robertson has finally accepted a slight measure of reality. Take a look.
And I think we're going to see a President Biden, and I also think we'll be seeing a President Kamala Harris not too long after the inauguration of President Biden. With all his talent and the ability to raise money and draw large crowds, the president still lives in an alternate reality. He really does. People say, well, he lies about this, that, and the other. But no, he isn't lying. To him, that's the truth.
That is really important. He's not lying because to him, it's the truth. He basically just admitted that Trump believes, again, lives in his own reality. You just mentioned that. And that he believes his lies. He's what have I been saying? He's getting high in his own supply. He's huffing that copium. Like, oh, they're going to overturn the election any day now. Oh, that's what they're going to do. And I'm going to become president for the next 4 years. I'm going to be very, very rich and powerful. Even Pat Robertson sees it. And look, here's the weird thing about this. And look, Pat Robertson's been wrong a lot. A lot. We know this, okay? Didn't he just make a prediction like a couple months ago before the election that Trump was going to win in 4 years and then we were going to get wiped out by an asteroid? And so, yeah, he's off by a lot. But in this case, broken clocks. And this guy is about the most broken kind of clock we've ever seen. It's amazing that he's still even around here. It's crazy. It's crazy. He's been around for a long time. Yes. All right. But anyway, I just figured that I would point that little thing out because I think it's really funny how even someone like Pat Robertson is openly saying, yeah, the guy lives in an alternate reality. It's not, what he's saying isn't necessarily real. But at the same time, his audience is also ancient, like him, and voted for Donald Trump. So he's going to come out and he's going to say, of course, like, well, I mean, the stuff that he was saying is like, he believes it. And it's kind of true. But at the same time, the guy needs to go. He's not doing himself any favors. He's not doing us any favors as a movement. In fact, I'm just going to let him explain.
He had the biggest crowd on Inauguration Day. He had more people than ever. He was the most popular people. He saved NBC, but with The Apprentice, you go down the line of things that really aren't true, and people kept pointing to them. But because they loved him so much, and he was so strong for the evangelicals were with him all the way. But there was something about him that was good, that God placed him in that office for the time. He's done a marvelous job for the economy. But at the same time, he is very erratic, and he's fired people, and he's fought people, and he's insulted people, and it keeps going down the line. So it's a mixed bag. And I think it would be well to say, you've had your day, and it's time to move on.
I love these comments here. He looks like he died in 2007 and no one had the guts to break the news to him. That comment, it's winning. That's a winning comment. All right, so Uncle Pat, why would you make such a good point? I mean, why would you do such things? Weirdly enough, again, okay, Pat Robertson, I don't know why, but he's like, I think of him as like this weird, racist, horrible person of a grandpa. Like, oh, grandpa, why would you say such terrible things? Come on, let's go get your Jell-O. But also when he says something right, it's like, oh, good for him. What a great job. I know I shouldn't think of him like that. But factually here, okay, this shows how conservative leaders, I think, are really trying to distance themselves from Donald Trump because he's an embarrassment. Like, there's something wrong with this guy. There's something wrong with him. Problem is, too many Republicans still love Donald Trump. And this might be the effort to disentangle the base from the sinking ship. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to be effective. A lot of people are tied to that ship. And they're like, they don't even know the boat's sinking at this point. They're just like, they're, you know, rearranging deck chairs anyway. And so I don't know, 90% approval among the Republican Party. And over half of them still don't accept the fact that Biden won the election, despite all the evidence. And so I don't know. But again, as I mentioned, it's got that ancient audience of Trump voters. And so I think this is one way that he is a quote unquote leader of the evangelical movement, is trying to slowly, very gently move them away from Donald Trump and into accepting some sort of reality. And so, I'm not giving Pat Robertson credit for that, for you know, actually accepting the reality and trying to do that. He is trying to save his movement, the conservative movement, from absolutely cratering. And I just don't. I actually hope he's kind of not successful, because really the world, the U.S. would be better off if the Republican Party splintered, broke apart, and became politically irrelevant. That's not to say conservatives wouldn't be represented. Actually, you know, with good progressive / what are actually centrist policies of like Medicare for all and things like that, well then conservatives would benefit too. We would, in essence, drag them kicking and screaming into a better world. And I'm okay with this. All right. The GOP needs to be abolished. No, they need to be politically irrelevant. Because the Republican Party itself is, I mean, that's just an apparatus. What we need is the conservative movement to, again, be completely irrelevant so that we can push through. And look, we've got a real big problem in the Democratic Party with them not being progressive at all. And so that is something that we're going to have to deal with afterwards. But first, you know, we got to get rid of this. You know, we got to stop this conservative movement right now. Oh, anyway. Moving on. Rudy Giuliani. Bad news for Rudy Giuliani. It appears that federal investigators are really interested in getting some of his electronic correspondence. So they're coming for his emails. But his emails. All right. According to NBC News, two sources say that prosecutors in the Southern District of New York have discussed requests for access to Giuliani's emails with unspecified Department of Justice officials. So this is a Trump Department of Justice with the outgoing William Barr. Okay, so now they note that the investigation into Giuliani is said to be, quote unquote, very active. Fascinating. Now, at this point, only general information has been confirmed about the probe into Giuliani's conduct. The Wall Street Journal reported back in 2019 that the investigation was targeting Giuliani's potential illegal gains from his work with Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman and a Ukrainian natural gas business. So that was, of course, involved with the Ukraine scandal. And so when that happened, Igor Fruman, by the way, and Lev Parnas have both been arrested and have been charged. So, yeah. Legal and law enforcement experts have pointed out that reported discussions regarding Giuliani's emails suggests that the investigation is getting close to him, and that is unfortunately making him very, very nervous. Because the Southern District of New York, that is not a federal probe. Okay, that's not federal. That is a state. That means that there will be no pardon. So, no pardon for you, Mr. Giuliani. Last year, for example, the state of New York passed a law that closed the so-called double jeopardy loophole. According to the law on crime, the change was adopted specifically as a means of thwarting President Trump in using his presidential pardon power. Under a new law, Giuliani could be prosecuted by New York State even if he received a presidential pardon, and if the pardon was gifted in exchange for materially benefiting the president. Huh. How would Giuliani be materially benefiting the president? Oh, right, by representing him in his consistent, lawsuits in order to overturn the election, which have failed, every single one of them. Nonetheless, materially benefiting the president. Pardon, yeah. But at the end of the day, of course, he can't be pardoned from this. So, sad day for you, Mr. America's ex-mayor. Oh, and by the way, also his bank accounts are a target for investigation too. So he's not happy about this. All right. That said, in a tweet on Tuesday, Giuliani suggested that Biden was behind this effort. Biden, who has said absolutely nothing, and by the way, who I assume, once he becomes president, will do the whole Obama, we look forward and not backward thing that frustrates me so much. You guys remember that. You know that. I think he's going to go in that direction because, again, he is part of the club. The whole thing is a return to normalcy, to return to nothing will fundamentally change. And so that's what a Biden presidency looks like. That does not, that means we're not going to go after Giuliani, very likely, or Donald Trump, very likely. I would be very surprised that, I would be very, very, very surprised if he, went in this direction, but he's not, very much so, at least in my opinion. But nonetheless, okay, here's what he said. I'm proud to be number one on the Biden vindictive government list. Sounds like the DOJ anti-Trumpers can't wait for Biden to make DOJ the government secret police like they were under Obama. This is literally happening under Donald Trump. Because it is. But see, it's kind of complicated. And so here's the thing about that. As Law and Crime explains, Giuliani himself was once the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. Kind of amazing when you think about it. Prior to becoming the mayor of New York, now that same office must request permission from the Trump administration DOJ in order to proceed with the request, all while Giuliani continues to sit at the at the right hand of the president, and as Attorney General Bill Barr heads out the door. Law and Crime spoke with former federal and state prosecutor Ellie Honig about this. Honig explained DOJ approval would be necessary in this case, so they've got to ask the Department of Justice in order to look into Giuliani's emails. But since the DOJ, as she explains, has to approve a case involving a search warrant on an attorney such as Giuliani, so that, of course, this means that generally this suggests that the Southern District of New York's investigation is active and has at least developed probable cause in order to look into these correspondence. So that has led to, of course, Giuliani saying, they want to seize my emails. Attorney-client privilege? Okay, but who's the attorney, who's the client? Where's the privilege? Are you talking about Parnas? Are you talking about Fruman? Are you talking about Donald Trump? Who are you talking about? I don't know. I don't know. And so there's not enough detail on this, but I'm no legal expert, right? But I think that generally, if you're asking the Department of Justice to issue a warrant to go in to look into somebody's emails, correspondence, it generally shows that there's something that might be there. They think that something is there, and that could spell a lot of bad news for Rudy Giuliani. So there's that. So now I'm going to go after the stimulus. I apologize for that image. All right, anyway. So last night, Congress officially passed the stimulus inside of a $1.4 trillion omnibus spending bill. So in it, of course, were a lot of things that sucked. $500 million for Israel, not good. $33 million for overthrowing Venezuela. Among many, many goodies, $740 billion for the military-industrial complex. All of that stuff is in the omnibus, okay? Now, as far as stimulus measures go, there's a $900 billion bill. We had one $600 stimulus check. Stimulus. More like survival, but barely. And $300 of unemployment benefits. And that's basically it. For people when it comes to direct payments, okay? And so now the Pentagon, as I mentioned, they got $740 billion in annual funding for the next fiscal year. We got $1,200 for 9 months and then additional $600. So total, we're going to have about $1,800. By the way, that $600 is supposed to last till March. Wow. Oh, wow. That's wonderful. Wonderful. Great. So millions will continue to struggle as a result of this, even though Nancy Pelosi says, oh, it's a good, it's a significant amount of money, $600 per person. Really? What in what place? In what state? Can you afford a rent on $600? I don't think so. What about a coffin? As some people will need from coronavirus. Oh no, you can't afford a coffin either. So it's not enough to live, and it's certainly not enough to die. So it's basically, for most people, worthless. And that's what it is. It's worthless. All right. That led, of course, to some fun hashtags. $600 is not enough. And hashtag let them eat cake, which is always fun. Now, one person says, the stimulus is a slap in the face to Americans who've had their livelihood forcibly taken away. Now, that is that could likely have come from the right wing. So understand that there are elements of both the right and left that are very, very mad at Congress right now, which is not surprising. Okay. And I agree. Like, if you're going to shut down the economy to control the virus, which I generally agree with, then you should pay people. You should give people $2,000 a month in stimulus, retroactive to the start of the pandemic. That is the least that you can do. That is the least that you could do. Now, the Republican position, unfortunately, is open it up, kill grandma. I mean, that's one less person on Social Security, so we can go ahead and cut that anyway and give more tax cuts for the rich. If you survive, though, well, good for you. But we're not going to pay your medical bills, though, if you end up getting COVID. And in addition, we want to prevent you from suing your employer from getting sick and missing all that time, because fuck you, that's why. Also, if you have a pre-existing condition from exposure to COVID, like, for example, if you get organ damage, lung damage, or, permanent neurological damage from, like, strokes or something that happened to you, if you were a generally healthy person and ended up getting COVID and dealing with that, well, don't worry. We're going to make sure that your insurance companies do not have to help you. We are going to block healthcare. We are going to make sure that these companies can either raise their premiums on you or drop you completely from your insurance because fuck you. Oh, by the way, they also wanted no stimulus and, by the way, corporate liability. So if you get sick, again, you can't sue your employer. Now, Democrats, what they wanted was state and local aid, of course, $1,200. People who are progressive wanted a $2,000 a month UBI, very simply, and full $600 a week benefits. At the end of the day, though, we got $600. Win for Mitch McConnell, a loss for America. I have more responses to this. Plutocrat Pelosi is worth $120 million because she used our government for decades to enrich herself and her corporate donors. Just called the $600 checks significant. This is her let them eat cake moment. 100%. I agree with that. Nancy Pelosi is well out of touch and needs to be replaced. Who do we replace her with? Well, I would like to replace her with somebody progressive. Do we have anybody that's stepped up in order to become the next Speaker of the House? Well, for one, it doesn't actually work that way. Most likely, we're going to get Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries also sucks, although maybe not to the extent of Nancy Pelosi. So that sucks. But if we can put someone up to primary Nancy Pelosi to take her speakership, or at least to take her seat, I mean, that's a significant way forward. So that's the problem. Okay, more. Trump and the GOP stole from you and turned a blind eye to your suffering, and now they want you to be grateful for $600. What a disgrace. Another person says Stephen Mnuchin's travel for spring and fall of 2017 cost taxpayers at least $1 million, including when he rented a Gulfstream G4 for $33,000 to travel to Fort Knox to pose James Bond villain style with his trophy wife behind big sheets of money. But what do you get? $600. By the way, $600 would not fill her freezer with ice cream. Yep, absolutely. All right. Nope. Agreed. Puck Arts Hourglass with okay. That's the person on Twitter here who pointed out that Conway West received between $2 million and $5 million. Joel Osteen, which by the way, I would like to plug this Twitter account. It's not mine, but follow Joel Dongstein. You will not be disappointed. At Joel Dongstein. I think that's the one. This mega church got $4.4 million. We can't even tax the churches, and yet somehow these guys get paycheck protection money. And Tom Brady got almost $1 million, $960,000. Members of Congress were paid $130,000 to spend 9 months arguing about whether you deserve $600. Another one says, if you vote for Pelosi for Speaker after this, you're complicit. As somebody who supports forced to vote, which, like, I'm not against the plan. I'm not against forced to vote. Okay. Anyway, you can tell there's a lot of anger here going around to Congress in general. Obviously, McConnell, to me, deserves most of the scorn because he holds most of the cards. You can't get anything through him. He is the literal, he calls himself the Grim Reaper. He understand that his Senate is a graveyard. But Pelosi is also at fault here. So Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats needed to be more aggressive in messaging. They needed to plant this failure right in the yard of the Republican Party. You only got $600. Why did you only get $600 when you were struggling? Mitch McConnell, I can't do a goddamn thing. I have to get a bill through Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell said no. Mitch McConnell doesn't want to help you a little bit. He doesn't care about you at all. I wanted $1,200 for you. Or, if I were Pelosi, I'd be saying $2,000 a month UBI. God, for God's sakes, Democrats, start from a strong position. Fuck, why didn't you say $3,000 a month? That's a good starting position. Let's do $3,000 a month and make it retroactive. Deal with that, McConnell. Oh, we couldn't do that. Why, Mitch McConnell? I guess you should put us into power, because if you put us into power, we will get you. We will get you $2,000 a month, but Pelosi can't do that because Pelosi is incredibly out of touch and doesn't know how to play politics. The only thing Nancy Pelosi knows how to do is to raise money for her donors. That is the problem with Nancy Pelosi. She does not work for you, she works for her donors. She needs to be replaced. She's not a master legislator, okay? She's 100% out of touch. She needed to play politics, though, and she failed. She failed. Again, there was not much she could do against the policy, right? And so, you get what you like. You get what you can through Mitch McConnell, and unfortunately, there's no way to get anything more through Mitch McConnell because it's Mitch McConnell. all right? But politically, you should lay this at McConnell's feet and use it to try to win the election in Georgia. Couldn't even do that. And at the end of the day, she handed Mitch McConnell a win. As well as I'm afraid that she might have actually handed the Republicans the race in Georgia. Because Nancy Pelosi is getting most of the flack for this, if not all of it, from both sides. And Mitch McConnell ends up looking like a winner. Because at the end of the day, he is. But she is bad at politics, and she's bad for a reason. Again, she is good at raising money from the donors. That is what she considers to be a leadership quality. That is why she is a speaker, and that is why she does not belong in speakership. Now, there is one more frustrating thing about this bill. While millions, of course, don't have health care, lawmakers did find funding to dramatically increase the budget for the exclusive government-run clinic that serves Congress. The Office of Attending Physician, which provides medical services to lawmakers, received a special boost of about $5 million. That doubles their budget. Okay? That budget is currently around $4.27 million. The OAP described it as some of the country's best and most efficient government-run healthcare. So this is your government healthcare. This is your NHS, but for Congress only. Okay? They employ several physicians and nurses to provide on-call treatment to legislators on Capitol Hill. The new funding is justified by services, this is according to the Intercept here, required for confronting the pandemic, though the office also provides lawmakers with the services of a chiropractor, on-site physical therapy, radiology, routine examinations, and a pharmacist. Why the hell are we not getting the same level of government-run care as our Congress people? What makes them more deserving than us, the people who literally pay for that through our tax system? I think we deserve the same level of care as our Congress people. Oh, but then what would make Congress people so special? Why then would you ever run for Congress? I don't know. Maybe there's this idea of serving the people. You know, the kind of thing that all of our congressmen, or most of our congressmen, to be fair, kind of forgot that they do. They kind of forgot who they really serve, who their boss really is. We are their boss. And we have to hold them accountable. We do. Now, there are ways to hold them accountable, ways that are effective, and there are ways that are ineffective of holding them accountable. I am obviously in favor of the ways of effectively holding them accountable, which is what we need to do. Okay? Again, we pay for this stuff, but we don't get health care. We get a one-time $600 check after 9 months of nothing. Dick, nada, and they expect that to be enough. No, I think what we need to do is we need a mass mobilization. I don't know if this will ever happen, but I would like to see it. Mass mobilization with union groups, progressive groups, regular people, workers. I want to see millions of us, tens of millions of us in the street, socially distanced, of course, with masks, in favor of a general strike. You want to talk about shutting down the economy. The Republicans love to talk about, you're shutting down the economy. You have not seen what shutting down the economy really looks like. But I want you to. And I want the workers to take that power into their own hands and to do a general strike until we can force politicians. And this is direct action. Okay, this is what direct action means. It's what it looks like when millions of us are in the streets, refusing to do any sort of commerce, refusing to go along with the machine, refusing to work, to grind the system to a halt and do a strike until our demands are met. And our demands are simple. UBI. It's not like we don't have the money. It's not like we don't have the resource. Okay, we do. We absolutely do. We have the only thing that's missing among the people is political will. The will to stand up, a mass majority of us, to stand up and say, okay, we've had enough. You are not representing us. We refuse to continue this until our demands are met. And again, that's healthcare, a UBI during this pandemic, and then when all that is taken care of, let us get back to business when this pandemic is over. That's what we need to do. And I understand that people are not there yet. And that's why I preface this by saying, this is not something that I foresee happening, but it's what needs to happen. I hope it does happen. It's the only way things are actually, I think, going to change. Okay. All right. That's it. That's all I got time for. Do I have any donos to read? A couple, actually. LL asks, he voted for his dead mother and dead mother-in-law. Is he going to prison for years, or is he white? Oh, well, you know the answer to that, L. And thank you for the support for the super chat. Very, very kind of you. Jedi Protector says, look into the oranges of the investigation. The oranges of the investigation. Indeed. Indeed. All right. Over here on Twitch, thank you, by the way, for all the new follows. We do a show, of course, every day, 4 p.m. Eastern. So you're going to enjoy this if you haven't already. Central Committee. Hey, thank you for the follow. You were in the Surfs chat yesterday, actually. And what was it? What was it yesterday? It was the day before. I am interested in doing some cross-pollination with you. So, like, get a hold of me. Or I will get a hold of you. We can do either. I don't care who gets a hold of each other first. But, again, thank you for the follow. I'd love to do some cross-pollination as well. So, awesome. Thank you, again, for all those follows. Those of you who are watching, glad to see you here. Much, much appreciation. And hopefully you all enjoy the show. All right, anyway, that's it. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Like and share the stream. Like and share the videos. All that wonderful stuff. You can support us, of course, on Patreon. It's patreon.com/JeffWaldorf. Or, you know, become a channel member or subscribe on Twitch, all that wonderful stuff. And we will see you all tomorrow. Love you guys. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you all later.
Give me a break. Please clap.
Silence.
Mike Pounds.
Wait. You're getting nervous, man.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.
All right, for those of you on Twitch, I'm going to raid somebody here. So stay right here for a minute while I figure out who I'm going to raid. So I'm going to figure this out. Let's see. I could raid. It's always a weird, like, you know, it's always a weird time, like the whole transition here. And I know you can't see me on Twitch, but what we're gonna do, I think we're gonna raid Mini Morpho. So this is the person that did the Acid Dragon art for me. So She does live art if you're interested in that. I know I rated the surfs before, but hopefully you enjoy watching her artwork.